We are here with New York Director of the Northeast Big Buck Club, Andy Hall, and we are going to take a trip down memory lane at this Western New York crib full of white-tailed deer.
Yeah, this is my start of my career hunting. You can see the top row there was when I first started hunting, in the 80s. And if you saw a rack at that point, you shot it.
Right. Especially in this area in upstate New York, right?
Right, for sure. You had to have a couple, 3 people on a doe permit at the time. You wanted meat, you had to shoot something like that. So,
Sure.
and then the bottom row is, once I started hunting with Hal, most of those are Farmington deer, more food. That one unique one there, the third one there's got a goldenrod gall on one of the points, which is really cool. That buck was blonde. His hair was almost, not white, but very, very blonde. He looked totally different than any other deer. The one on the end there was just a gnarly, nasty buck. He stank. He didn't even want to rub his antlers. He still got velvet on it. He was just a bruiser.
Right.
They're all different. Most of those, about 4 of those are gun. Right. And then the rest are all bow, on the bottom row at least. Archery deer. The top row is all gun. The one with the zip tie there, you can see he had lost his rack. Over a year later, we found the other half. I shot it with only one side. We found the other half, and it fits right into the skull. Wish I had both when I harvested it, but on the other wall here is a lot of my, more recent deer. Actually, the 2 old mounts are my grandfathers and great-grandfathers, both from Ontario, Canada. The old Smiling mounts. They weigh about 100 pounds apiece. They're full of mortar. But
that's really cool.
Kind of neat. I wish I knew the stories. I never knew my grandfather or great-grandfather. But
it's awesome that you still have those bucks, though.
Still have them. They're all, from the houses that had wood stoves or smoked like chimneys, from cigarettes or pipes or something.
Right.
But still
chocolate racks.
Chocolate racks, yeah. Still have them though. But a few of those are definitely Bristol bucks. The one there with the barbed wire on it. I shot at that deer from the ground with my bow. Right before the arrow got to the deer, it looked like a perfect shot. Right before it got to it, all of a sudden my Luminoc flew off, and the deer sounded like he got hit with a baseball bat, and he went down to his back end dropped, and he started dragging himself away. I'm like, what's going on? So I had to chase him down with my bow and finish him off. Well, that piece of barbed wire came out of a tree and went down into the ground right where his vitals were. So I hit that barbed wire with my arrow, and the arrow went deflected, and it broke both of his rear legs.
Wow.
Both of them, not just one. Lucky it broke both because I could catch him. But that's the barbed wire buck. There is a set of sheds. Score 151. My big buck.
Right.
she's a double white patch, first double white patch deer I've ever seen. I shot her with archery when the other buck was second day of season 3 years later.
That's cool.
This rack here is a found rack. This is the shed. We found the shed and the deadhead the same day.
That's really nice.
I think the shed, if you did the math, I think this was 127, and that one scores 131.
Wow.
This is my drop tine. It's probably my second favorite deer ever. That was a little teeny drop tine I got at the last half an hour of season. The year my father passed. And I said, there's no reason I deserve another drop tine.
Right.
Dad sent it to me, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then this is a Bristol deer. Aged that deer at 6.5. 14 points. Doesn't score very well. Nothing really long.
Very unique deer, though.
Yeah. This one, 4.5-year-old deer. That's a Farmington deer. Really heavy mass. That deer, I was sitting in a thicket, and my friends were walking through the thicket just to get stuff up. I saw this deer stand up out of the goldenrod, looked over, saw my one friend, put his head down, walked probably 75 yards to a pine tree, stood up behind the pine tree, looked at my other friend, and was going to wait there for him to pass, and that's where I shot him right there.
Wow.
But he knew right where they were, and he knew that he had to keep his head down.
Right.
But yeah, that was one of the last bucks I ever hunted with Hal with. Longest deer I've ever had. You hang that in the same. We hang our deer in the same spot, and he was probably a foot longer hanging than any other deer I've ever shot.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. This was my deer from this past season. Heavy mass, second to last day of season again. He was tending to doe with 4 other bucks. Ithaca deer slayer. This rack here was my friend Hale's archery buck. We think this is the same genetics as the big one.
Right.
You can see this rack curls around, more points on it, drop tine, and then this one kind of flares out, kind of like mine, and then those real tall, brow tines. I think this was 125 or something score. Moose rack, carved that eagle head in there. I've still got more to do on it, but
That is really cool.
took me about 40 hours to get to this point. It's not easy, but it's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was my biggest typical right up until this year. That scores 127. Shot that in the goldenrod again. That hunting in the wind, they go to the goldenrod. So windy day, basically walked by myself through a goldenrod field just like I was pheasant hunting back in the day.
Right.
I had walked by him twice. He was tending a doe, bedded. They must have known I was there. I had kicked up an owl, and the owl flew over about 20 yards and landed. I went over to see it again, and it kicked up again, and it flew. And when it flew, I noticed what I thought was a rack in the goldenrod.
Right.
And I pulled up my binoculars, and he turned, and I could see the white patch. And I go, yep. So I put the binoculars down and I pulled up and I shot him right in the white patch.
Wow.
He never got up. The doe got up and took off. The buck next to that is my largest muzzleloader buck. Shot that right here in Bristol. I hang this in here, and everyone goes, "Why do you have that in there?" If you ever come across one of these at a yard sale or something like that, this is the best tool to skin a deer with. You know how you're trying to grab that hide and pull down all the time?
Right.
You just put this in there and you can just pull down with that little point and you can skin it. It works great. So
that's cool.
My skinning hay hook. And then these are a bunch of my friends that have passed. I honor their racks and that.
Nice bucks.
Yeah, I wish
Beautiful.
I knew all the stories on them. I know a couple of them, but
Oh, they're beautiful. And then you got this big guy right here too.
yep, that was my friend Hales again. We were hunting together that day, and we were both on the edge of this woods, and that buck came down through the field, and he was too far away for me to shoot, and Hal was using again, he was using one of my old compounds, actually this compound right here. He was using that bow, shooting left-handed with a right-handed bow, and shot that buck at 40 yards.
Wow. What does that one score?
I think that's 122, something like that.
Wow, it's a beautiful buck.
Yeah, beautiful buck.